everyone, this is my Crit Session Show and Tell. This is my introduction to my entire presentation. It's just showing the order of what I'm talking about throughout this presentation. So I'm going to be discussing the new technologies I learned about, mainly talking about what I learned about in our What's Hot discussions, as well as my tech modules that I experienced, so HTML and CSS, Adobe Illustrator, Flipped Classroom, my final prototype, and the experiences I had along the way. So the first new technology I learned about was Apple Classroom. I was able to experience this on my own and use it in my classroom. This follows student activity. As you can see what is on their screen, you can place students on specific activities and lock them in that activity or application, as well as airdrop to the entire class or individuals as well. Another app I learned about was Swift Playgrounds. This is a great application for coding. It is an Apple application. This is a coding for games, and you can build upon it with levels. This is great for kids to use, and it's also very visual, as you can code on the left and see the changes on the right. The last new technology I learned about was IXL. This is a great tool to use in the classroom. It can be used as a way to gather assessment data. Grade levels K through 12 are able to use this app, as well as then it is used to assess and then find specific needs for students, so it is very individualized learning. So going into my first tech module, HTML and CSS. So I used a lot of coding videos on all the trainings we used, the coding introduction, and all the video lessons were very helpful when trying to learn about coding. I continued to use the training resources as well as other resources to pull from to learn a lot more about HTML and CSS, such as YouTube and other coding websites to help me practice along the way. Coding was a lot of trial and error, seeing what works and doesn't work. Also, I was then able to create my beginning website for my final project. So this was what I used for my final project for my tech module. I used Dreamweaver. The topic of my website was my personal classroom website, and I was able to use different details such as draggable menus, drop-down menus as well, and inserting images. My next text module was Adobe Illustrator. So with this, I was able to learn a lot. I used a lot of the online tutorials, as well as just learned how to use each tool, and then practice remaking images, such as the ones you can see here on the right, the first one that I created, and then the one that I was trying to remake. Then I also learned a lot in Adobe Illustrator with trial and error, as just seeing what does and doesn't work. Also with the logo creation, I was able to practice a lot of the different skills within Adobe Illustrator, as well as creating a flyer for the science of reading. Then my last tech module was Flipped Classroom. Khan Academy was used as a great example to learn and understand how Flipped Classroom works. This is a great tool for remote learning as well as in-person learning. One application I used was Edpuzzle, and it was great to use for Flipped Classroom. I also learned a lot about drawing pad apps to use as a screen while I was recording. I learned a lot about video editing, as well as an app called EDU Creations, which was great to learn about. And my favorite, and you can see it on the image to the side here. So also for Flipped Classroom, I learned about the variety of platforms that can be used, such as YouTube and screen capture, to gain the Flipped Classroom videos. I also learned a lot about Flipped Classroom and the intended use for it, so using Flipped Classroom in the classroom as a station while rotating and learning different academic skills, as well as the variety of possibilities that you can use in person and remotely with Flipped Classroom. So then for my prototype, I identified the educational problem of a learning gap, especially from the pandemic. I wanted to support students at all levels and provide flexible learning opportunities for them. So realizing that there was a learning gap, I considered those thoughts into my technology choices for my tech modules. So that's why I picked HTML, Adobe Illustrator, as well as Flipped Classroom. Here are parts of my final prototype. So for HTML, I created a website and used those skills to help me with my final prototype. I used support to close the learning gap. So just that was my overall goal of the webpage, and a variety of web pages included on this website to help organize everything throughout it. Then I also used Adobe Illustrator for my final prototype in creating my educational images as well as my website logo. And then also for my final prototype, I used Flip Classroom to provide the virtual lessons experience, and that was great to use Edpuzzle as well as Edu Creations and YouTube as well. And so I was able to provide virtual lessons with a variety of subjects and hopefully to provide intervention and enrichment support. So my final takeaways from this course, I thought this course was very beneficial and my new technology learnings, as well as my new experiences. I feel like I'm walking away with a variety of new knowledge and an idea of how to apply all of that new knowledge as well.